I don't know why I was so scared to do this before. Now, I've been on a journey of digital minimalism since September of 2023. During that journey, I've tried different dumb phones, minimalist phones, dumbed down smartphones, but now I'm in a different era. Well, this is a journey, so this part of the journey includes de-Googling my life. I have multiple different devices, and more specifically, Android devices. Android devices can be de-Googled, of course, but there are some limitations. In fact, the easiest phone to de-Google is actually a Google Pixel. Now, this video is going to be focused on GrapheneOS, which is an alternative operating system, but there are multiple different ones out there. Now, as far as GrapheneOS is concerned, this operating system only works with Google Pixel devices. So I'd recommend picking up an old Pixel, one that is carrier unlocked as well as factory unlocked, because you'll need to be going into some of the developer settings. But don't worry, you don't need to have a tech-savvy background in order to do this. I chose to do this on my Pixel 8. Recently, I've been using my Google Pixel 8 primarily for content creation, and I wanted to completely remove all of the Google services and any of the back-end Google data farming that was going on my device. So I decided to use GrapheneOS. I know previously I was scared to do this to my Google Pixel because I thought it would be very complicated or that none of my apps would be compatible after doing this. But boy was I wrong. Everything works so much better, and there are some definite positives to switching to GrapheneOS. Now, in order to make the big switch, of course, I made sure to back up any information. Since I was de-Googling already, I had already exported all of my information and I didn't really care if something went wrong with the device. Once I did that, I was able to activate the developer settings, which is easy as going in the settings, tapping the build number about 6 or 7 times, and then accessing your developer settings and selecting the toggle for the OEM unlock. Once you've done this, you can follow all of the instructions on GrapheneOS, and they even allow you to go through and do all of the steps via their web installer. This only took me about 10 minutes to go through each step. They walk you through each step. It's impossible to get lost, honestly, and it was so easy. Once the device rebooted after installing everything, you're brought to GrapheneOS, which is honestly the bare bones version of Android that you could get. It looks very similar to the user interface, but the positives is that your phone is completely private and secure. This means that Google services or any of the apps pre-installed by Google are not going through your phone's information by default. Even the default apps are GrapheneOS apps, and these are open source apps which allow you to grant permissions or not for certain actions. Now, if you're somebody who needs Google services, don't worry, you can install Google services, and the beauty of this is that it is sandboxed. This means that Google Play services can't go through and access apps or different profiles on your device and get information that you do not want to give it. Now, speaking of profiles, this was one of the major bonuses of switching to GrapheneOS. Especially for you digital minimalists out there. You can create multiple separate profiles that do not interconnect to each other, if you know what I mean. So for example, I have an owner profile which is installed by default. I installed all open source applications and my important apps such as my health data, my banking, and all of those apps that do not rely on Google Play services. I do not have Google Play services or any Google applications on this particular profile. Now, as most of you may need some Google Play services or some apps that are related to Play services, you can create a completely separate profile and store those apps in that profile. That's what I've done with all of my work applications. Of course, I'm on YouTube, so I need to manage my YouTube channel. Therefore, I need to have certain Google applications, but I don't want those applications interfering with my private life and the information I don't want to share to Google. So I created a separate profile. Don't worry, you can carry over your phone calls and your text messages to that profile as well, so you're not missing the important information. I also added the same applications such as my email on that profile as well. Now, within my work profile, I was able to install, of course, Google Play services and install YouTube, YouTube Studio, and all of those apps such as social media or things that will definitely be harvesting some data, of course, but it's contained in its own profile with information that I allow or give permission. This also includes Play services. By default, it doesn't have many permissions, especially according to a default Android. So my current profile, I've removed all the permissions for Google Play services. I just leave it there so that it's compatible with certain apps. Unfortunately, one of my banking apps only works with Google Play services installed, so I had to install it on this particular profile. You'll find that some apps won't work without Google Play services, and again, I think GrapheneOS gives us that option, again, to create multiple profiles. You can create a work profile, a personal profile, even a digital minimalist profile for those of us trying to train ourselves for the Light Phone 3 coming out. And if you have children, you can create a child protected profile and only leave certain apps that you give permission for your child to use. This allows you the freedom to keep your app separate from your kids and keep your kids extra protected on your device. I think GrapheneOS is an amazing open source operating system, and I highly recommend checking them out. Their community is very helpful, very reactive, and honestly, give them a donation if you feel like you're really happy with their operating system. Again, open source is not for profit, so they rely on donations from people who use the devices and really like it to keep it going. I also have a ton of extra benefits I wasn't anticipating from switching to GrapheneOS, one of the major ones being battery life. I didn't realize how much my battery was impacted by Google harvesting my data all day long. I went from having to charge my device at least once a day at the end of the day to now maybe charging it once every 3 days. That's crazy. I use my device a lot for creating content, taking videos, pictures, and things that normally drain quite a bit the battery. But honestly, I couldn't be happier with the battery life. And the phone itself is so much more fast and snappy. It's not feeling like the animations are slowing it down. I think the animations, of course, are turned off, but the device itself just works better. It's optimized, and I really enjoy the user experience a lot more. I'm able to use certain accessibility settings, any of the accessible apps that I need to use in my life, and again, I can separate them into different profiles, so that way my Google profile is not interfering with anything else in my life. The only negative thing that I saw was the camera application by default. This does not give you the full optimization of the hardware, and I had to install the Google Pixel camera, but I did this again on my Google focused profile. I was able to install the Google camera and get the full access to all the options offered, and I'm able to create my content as I was before. Now, since degoogling my life, this device has kind of pushed me in the direction to continue that. I've been able to try different open source applications, and of course, I'm able to install my third-party app stores such as F-Droid or Aurora Store on my open source profiles. And honestly, it's been a great experience trying different applications, especially those European focused ones, and really having more conscience on my security and privacy regarding all of my data. So far, I have no regrets switching to GrapheneOS. I went from carrying around 2 devices a day down to 1 because I'm able to create multiple profiles on the same device, and I feel that there's more separation of my private life and my professional life, as well as my digital minimalist life. When I feel I need a break and to deconnect, I can switch to a very minimalist profile with only the essential apps such as calling and texting. If you're somebody who needs specific apps but also wants to focus on using more open source or degoogling your life or even digital minimalism, I highly recommend getting an old Pixel device, or if you have one laying around, at least a Pixel 5 and above. You can switch to GrapheneOS so easily. Again, it only took me about 10 minutes and you don't need a super technical background. Their step-by-step guide really help you. They have troubleshooting, and again, they also have discussion boards. It's super easy. And check out some other YouTube videos where people are installing GrapheneOS step by step if you want to feel more comfortable. Are you using GrapheneOS already or using another operating system? Let me know down below. I'm really curious what everyone's using. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.